Okay guys, so today I'm going to teach you how to dye boots. Now, a few things first. Before we actually get to the dyeing part, we need to understand a few things about leather and why that's important. The first important step is to identify whether your leather is a chrome tan leather or a veg tan leather. The important thing to remember here is that most chrome tan leathers are either bonded leathers or have acrylic layers to them. It's not always the case. Most of them are just really nice full grain leathers. So to identify the type of leather that you have on your boots, these are kind of a guideline. So first of all, absorption. What the hell do I mean with absorption? So absorption basically means whether or not your leather is prone to absorb water or oils or that sort of thing. So a good test to see what type of leather your boots are made of is literally to just take a droplet of water, drop it on the tip of your toe on the boot itself, and see whether the water absorbs into the leather. If it does, good, your leather will accept a dye. Second one, finish. So a lot of boots on the consumer market on the cheaper side is made with an acrylic layer over the top of the leather itself, meaning that is that how you spell acrylic? Yeah, finish. This acrylic finish does not allow any dye to penetrate through to the fibers of the leather. Third thing, what kind of color? So if you have a black boot and you want to dye it brown, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. Lighter colors, it's much easier to dye a darker. You cannot dye a dark color even lighter. It's just not possible. Next thing, coverage. Do you want the entire boot to be colored or not? So let's say you have a toe cap on your boot and you want this part of your boot to be brown and this part to be black. You are going to have to mask away this part of the boot so that you can just dye this part, because if you mess any of this black dye on the brown dye, it'll be black forever. Okay, so now you've confirmed your leather. What's the next steps? Your first step would be to dry your leather properly. So this meaning if you've recently walked in water or stepped in couch or whatever the case may be, you need to dry the leather completely. The next step in this phase is prep. Where do you want to dry these boots? Because if you're planning on doing this in the kitchen and you mess dye all over the place, your wife, girlfriend, scallopy is not going to be very happy with you. So don't go dyeing on your freaking carpets. Don't go dyeing on a couch. Don't dye on a cement surface. Just be smart about prepping, okay? Just be smart, because this is where most people get in trouble with their wives. Not gonna lie. Third step would be the actual dyeing step. And that's where that guy is gonna take over. You have to remove the laces of your boots. This is pretty much self-explanatory. Next, you need to take your dye bottles that you've bought from whichever company you prefer. If you would like, there is a description below for a company that I use to buy all my dyes from. So go and saturate your sponges and get your bottles open and that sort of stuff. Now you need to apply to your boots. Few important things to remember here. I'll jot them down so you don't forget. That's another part that I didn't mention during the prep phase. You might need some gloves. Please apply the dye evenly to your boot. Don't use more dye in certain parts than you would others. Apply it evenly. Don't try and oversaturate the leather, but try to apply all the dye that you apply to the boot in an even manner. Next part, cover all of your boot parts. That would be the boot uppers, that would be the midsole, that would be the tongue, and then if you have a gusseted tongue like some of the Jim Green boots, please apply leather to all of those so that you don't have to go back when the dye is dry and reapply the leather, because there might be some color discrepancies. You don't want to over apply throughout the leather because it's going to take an insane amount of time to dry. You don't want that. So you essentially want to dry your boots as soon as you can so that you can oil them, get that nourishment back into the leather, because the dye is going to dry out the leather. After that, you just want to wait 10 minutes to see how the dye penetrated into the leather, so that you know which parts need an extra coat. Sometimes with toe caps, they are very, very thick, so you might want to apply an extra layer of dye to those parts. So you've now essentially dyed your boots. Now, the next step is to let them dry. Put them in the sun, put them in a place where it's very, very dry, so that all of the moisture from the dye or anything else you would have on your boot, just let them dry. So as leather dries, as black dye dries on a lighter color of leather, it will essentially change a hue to a lighter gray. Essentially the difference between this color and that color up there. If need be, you could add rice, put it in rice. People put their phones in rice all the time, but that's a waste of rice. After everything is done and dry, you need to apply moisture back into the leather, because essentially what the dye is a liquid, so you would want that liquid to be gone, because we are going to apply that moisture back in the form of either a moisturizer, or in my case, I like to use beeswax. I have my own mix of beeswax that has oils, coconut oils, sweet almond oils, beeswax, all that type of stuff. So that's how I like to add moisture back into my boots. You can get a leather conditioner as well. I do like leather conditioners. I have leather conditioners, but I prefer just to use a straightforward wax and oil mix. That usually works the best for me. The leather might crack if it's too dry. You've probably seen this in your handbags or wallets, that sort of stuff. If leather dries out completely, it tends to crack, or the top layer will separate from the flesh, so it just creates neat crease marks and it just looks crappy. So try to introduce moisture as soon as the boots are dry. Another good tip when you're using wax to moisturize your leather is to take the leather itself and just heat it up before you apply the wax. I do this through the use of a hair dryer. You can use the sun, basically just put it out in the sun and it'll dry out naturally, or it'll warm the leather up enough so that the wax will penetrate into the leather. But I use a hair dryer, so I don't know, I'm a leather guy. What do you want from me? So now we're done. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video or tutorial. I'm not a boot dyeing expert, but as a leather crafter, this is how I would do this. Please like and subscribe and comment on this video if you do like the comment or like the video. It really does mean a lot. It gets the algorithm to show my video to more people, and it just shows that you guys like the content that I make and would like to see more. If you have any other things that you normally do to dye your boots, I would like to hear them in the comments. So go down and comment and tell me what you would do differently. It's always good to learn. I'm of the opinion that, you know, a specific thing can be done 1,000 different ways, and in leathercraft it's especially important because there's so many different ways to skin a cat. So comment below if you would like to give me advice or would like just more information. So thank you so much as always for watching the video, and I will see you very, very soon. Cheers guys.